Titans preview show. Sorry, Bucs fans. This is JT back with the Buckball podcast. I know I said it was coming out Friday, but of course I had some technical difficulties with a Windows update in my mic. Of course, it was something simple, something I just had to turn on. But I had to wait on their support to get back to me to figure out what it was, blah, 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 and things like that. And I'm not going to bore you with it because the reason we're on this show is to talk about the first two games of the season. Now, you might be asking, why are we doing a preview show in June? Well, the rosters are, they are what they are right now. You can say a couple players might make it on, a couple players might make it off. There's still a lot to look forward to. I know we still have preseason games and things like that. But in order for me to fit all 16 games in, it's going to be 8 shows. I'm going to have people on to talk about each game we preview, or I preview. Unfortunately, this first show is just me solo dolo. One second. But yeah, it's just going to be me. So, but I have a lot of notes, a lot of research, a lot of things to talk about with the 49ers and the Panthers. So let's just dig in. Let's just start talking about it. Pull up my notes here. All right. So obviously, the notable storylines for this Week 1 game. 4:30 in September. Now, anyone who lives in Florida knows that pretty much from June, July, damn near all the way to September, it rains almost every afternoon, either at 12 o'clock or late in the afternoon. So, unfortunately, I bought my tickets to this game. I hope it doesn't rain, but there's a very good chance of that. But one thing I do want to note, this is a healthy Jimmy G. I wanted to play Jimmy Garoppolo last year. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in the third week of the season. I believe when they were playing the Chiefs. But yeah, I want to play a team with a full healthy roster. I don't want any excuses to why we won. I want to see how we stack up against this team, that team. I never want to beat a team just because a quarterback was hurt or they lost this, or like a fluke play. I want to play every team at full capacity. That's what I want to do. So a healthy Jimmy G. Now, obviously, he started his career 7-0. Tore up the Jaguars, I think it was in 2017. So there's still a lot of high hope for him. He's got a monster contract. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, which John Lynch has no problem spending money. He's throwing money like Oprah. Like, you get a $100,000, $100 million contract. He's throwing out money everywhere. D Ford, Quan Alexander. We'll get into that. He actually outbid the Bucs for Jerick McKinnon, if I remember correctly. But another thing to talk about, the three-headed monster at running back, Matt Breida, Jerick McKinnon, and Tevin Coleman, who was reunited with Kyle Shanahan from his days in Atlanta. Now, Coleman last year, with Devontae Freeman out, 800 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, 4.8 a carry, 32 catches, 276 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's pretty good production. I always thought Coleman was more than a role player. I thought, he could make money somewhere else. Unfortunately, Atlanta likes to run a 2-back set, whether it was Ito Smith, Devontae, and Coleman, everything like that. So with the addition of Ito Smith, I think they made it easier for them to let Coleman go. Now, Matt Breida, I love the way he runs. As obviously his first year starting, 814 yards, 3 touchdowns, 27 catches, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Him and Jerick McKinnon are actually both from Georgia Southern, that kind of like high-powered triple option type thing. I think one of them was on the team whenever they beat the Gators, where they didn't throw like one pass, which go FSU. Now, Jerick McKinnon, 150 carries. He's never had over 160. So what John Lynch paid for him is kind of crazy. He's never had over 160 carries. His highest yardage was in 2017, 570 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he had 51 catches for 421 yards. That's a lot of passing production from your running backs, especially in that offense. Now, I don't know how they're going to rotate the snaps. I would have to say that Matt Breida and Coleman would get the most of it. Jerick McKinnon would be kind of like the gadget player, kind of role player. Now, the next point. This is Quan's obvious return to Ray J. A lot of people are saying, I don't even know if he's going to play or not. I think he's going to play. He's had plenty of time to recover from the ACL. He's already doing running drills and things like that. He'll play. Now, I want to see what type of energy he brings. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see him come back to Tampa. Obviously, I wanted him to get paid. I wanted him to stay. It would have been hard to draft Devin White with him there, and I know that's who the Bucs wanted all along. Another storyline, they want revenge. The last time they played us last year, 27-9. Matt Breida had 106 yards on 14 carries. Mullins had 221 yards. It was a pretty even game on the stat sheet. But let's talk about Nick Mullins for a second. I think him with Kyle Shanahan, I think they overachieved, especially with the defense playing as bad as they are. But we're going to get down to that later. Now, just look at this box score right here. This was actually a pretty even game. The score is 27-9. Look at this. First down, San Francisco 23, Tampa Bay 25. Rushing first downs, San Francisco 9, Tampa Bay 9. Third down conversions, San Francisco went 1 for 8, Tampa went 7 for 13. Total plays, Tampa only had 10 more. Total yards, San Francisco 342, Tampa Bay 412. 11 total drives each. Same amount of red zone trips with 2. Penalties were close. San Francisco had 8 for 68. Tampa Bay had 9 for 70. But San Francisco threw 2 interceptions. Tampa Bay had 0 turnovers. That was the difference in that game. The third down conversions and the turnovers. Now, like I said, they had one of the worst defenses, especially considering, 18 players on IR. They turned the ball over second highest in the league per drive, and the defense got turnovers on 4% of their drives, which was the worst. This team had 2 interceptions. 2. And 7 total turnovers. I don't know any team in the NFL that would have a winning record with those kind of numbers. Not one team. What was my next note here? Trying to see. Yeah, but let's just talk about the 2018 stats. They kind of are what they are. You can say last season was kind of a wash. They just couldn't seem to. They kept getting bit by the injury bug. You just said they didn't have the talent on defense, which they had 37 sacks. The Bucs only had 38. That's with DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, and then just the sacks they got from everywhere else. But they added D Ford, Nick Bosa, not to mention Quan Alexander, who likes to blitz. I'd say that sack number is going to go up. Now, it's just the turnover number that they have to worry about. But as far as this game goes, the Bucs are going to be facing George Kittle, Dante Pettis, who I think Dante Pettis is a very good receiver. I actually kind of had a little draft crush on him. I love his route running. I love what he brings you in the return game, which surprisingly they didn't even use him that much in the return game. I don't know why. I think he broke Deshaun Jackson's record or something for punt returns or kick returns returned in college. It might have been Deshaun Jackson's. It was somebody else. But yeah, I would look for him to be returning punts this year. Deebo Samuel, they added him. Marquise Goodwin, your downfield guy. Mike McGlinchey had a solid year. Joe Staley, Hall of Famer. Laken Tomlinson, Mike Pearson, not that great. That's your interior guys. I would look for Vita Vea and them to exploit that. But yeah, overall their defense, aside from the turnovers, is not that bad. Kind of middle of the pack. 14th ranked rushing defense, 11th ranked passing defense. But the worst thing is the 28th scoring defense. Much like us. It doesn't matter how much you give up. Yards also 8 points, but if people score a lot of points, it don't matter how many yards you hold them to. If they're scoring, you can hold them to 150 yards and somehow they have 3 or 4 touchdowns. Obviously that's unlikely, but I'm just saying things like that happen. These things matter. Moving on. Let's see where I go right here. Now let's look at the draft class. Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd. Very interesting. Very interesting to Jalen Hurd. Kind of a project guy in the 3rd round too. Yeah, that's crazy. So you already had Dante Pettis, Deebo Samuel, Marquise Goodwin. I think Marquise Goodwin's maybe out the door. He got to be. But if I had to give a prediction for this game, I would say, and I think it's gonna be closer than people think. I would say Tampa Bay 30, San Francisco 27. Now there is gonna be some games where I'm gonna pick the Bucs to lose. Trust me, but I think they're gonna win this game. Bruce Arians' first game. I think they're gonna show out. Yeah, but I understand John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan got these like 6-year contracts and things like that. But you keep spending money on all these players and the production doesn't come, the wins don't come, it's not going to matter. So that's my little preview for the 49ers. Obviously, we're going to talk about them more closer to the draft, or not closer to the draft, closer to the season, preseason, things like that. Obviously, when the game gets actually closer, you know what I mean. Now let's move on to Carolina here. Obviously, this is a team we're way more familiar with. They got us once, and we got them once, but you could say Cam Newton didn't have the shoulder strength to play in that game, which is another reason why, even though we did have 4 interceptions, I don't like having that stigma like, okay, well, you only won because of this. Like, I want to play a team at full capacity. So, beginning of the year, Cam should be healthy, even though he's had 2 surgeries in less than 3 years. They said his mechanics are like brand new, something the NFL's never seen, things like that. So, I don't know. Good thing is, second game of the season, we're going to see it. Now, we're going to go start with our first meeting with them in the season. Obviously, we lost 42-28, 32 rushes for 179 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick maybe should have been pulled in this game. But you got to remember, this is the game right after Cincinnati where Jameis had one of his worst games, probably of his career, going back to college and everything. Just god-awful interceptions. Mind-blowing first overall pick interceptions. Bad stuff. So Jameis wasn't coming back in, especially at that point. Let me just pull up this game real quick because I want to check. I want to look at these box scores. The Panthers scored 3 times in the second quarter. All right, 3 times. That's crazy. Go down here. I'm trying to pull up these. I had all this stuff up. I'm trying to be prepared. Yeah. 32 rushes, 179 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's crazy. 247 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Now I know they had some end arounds and some gadget plays and things like that. We got sacked 3 times, 24 yards. We only sacked Cam twice. We had 2 turnovers. Penalty yards was the same. Third downs weren't that much different. Time possession wasn't much different. We were just getting gouged. That's simply what it was. Now obviously, this was when they were still kind of red hot, kind of a red hot team. Immediately following this game, that's when they got stomped by the Steelers. Let me see what that score was, 52-21. Big Ben had more touchdowns and incompletions in that game, if I remember correct. Now they're reworking their O-line. Obviously, Matt Khalil's gone. Ryan Khalil's gone. They added Chris Hogan, Bruce Irvin, and Matt Paradise from Denver to try to shore up that offensive line. But yeah, they're in the same boat as us. They don't have that great of a line. The only problem is that they find a way to make their offense work in spite of their O-line. The Bucs have such a vertical passing offense that it was hard for them to do that. Now it's easier for the Panthers because they have these like misdirection plays and end arounds and turnarounds and quick slants. And then on top of that, Cam is a runner himself. But like I said, they got to slow down with that. Their draft class, I like their draft class. Brian Burns, obviously. Greg Little. A lot of people said that he was one of the most overrated guys. He was just kind of one of the name guys. This was interesting. Will Grier. It's the first time they drafted a quarterback since they picked Cam Newton. Now, I don't think Will Grier would get any starting time this year, especially if Cam goes down. I think they would leave it to the backup guy, who is Taylor Hankey, I think his name, and Kyle Allen. But Will Grier's pass-happy offense from West Virginia, so that would be weird to see him in this offense, see how it goes. Norv Turner. Christian Miller, I like him from Alabama, outside linebacker. Jordan Scarlett, can't talk right now. Terry Godwin, wide receiver from Georgia, so they're getting more they're getting more speed. Okay, they got DJ Moore, obviously Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel is one of them guys. It's where you can line them up in the backfield, split running back sets, have him catch his screens, have him catch his end rounds, quick slants. It's kind of an all around gadget player. But then you think, man, they have these receivers, right? They let Devin Funchess go and everything like that. Christian McCaffrey. Let me just pull up these numbers. Let me just pull up these numbers real quick. Christian McCaffrey is their leading rusher and receiver. Let me see this real quick. Oh, can't forget they added Gerald McCoy, of course. Mario Addison. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up their stats here. Give me just 1 second. Okay, I got this stuff pulled up. This is crazy. Christian McCaffrey. He's their leading receiver. 867 yards. He's the leading receiver with 867 yards, okay? Leading rusher, 1,098 yards. This dude is going to be a monster in fantasy football. He is going to be a monster. Let me pull this down here. But yeah, so obviously, Cam got hurt. Okay, they were still losing close games. I know they started 6-2, finished 7-9, but they were 0-5 in one-score games during that stretch, and that's something that Bucs fans like to pull out. We were I don't know, 1-7 in one-score games. We're really, really close. If we're gonna use that logic for us, we got to use that logic for them. And they were very close, and some of them one-score games was like 1 to 3 points. They're starting the season versus the Rams, who I'm sure want to get that bad Super Bowl taste out of their mouth. If we can catch a Carolina team that just gets punched in the mouth by the Rams, that would be a really good ideal situation. Ron Rivera, hot seat. Now, I think Ron Rivera is getting a pass for Cam Newton's shoulder and things like that. They were very close, obviously, in a lot of those games, but they weren't going to go far in the playoffs with Cam Newton's arm like that. So I think he's going to get a pass. But it's a new owner, and I know it's hard for coaches, GMs, anybody to survive, especially after a season like that, especially if it goes back-to-back. So a loss by the Bucs would be a pretty big deal, especially if we can start the season 2-0, and they lose to the top two offenses. Now I know the Bucs had a top 3 passing offense or top 3 total offense and a number 12 scoring offense, which is BS. I don't care how many yards you got. If you ain't scoring, I don't want it. I'd rather us have 300 yards a game and be top 10 in scoring, or top 5 in scoring. Like 12, no way you have the top 3 offense and you can't do that. Moving on to the second game. Yeah, one more thing I want to mention, because I don't know if I did. I think I glanced over this. The Panthers had 22 turnovers and only 23 takeaways. And they were still losing close games and started off that red hot. So the Bucs had, I believe, 37 turnovers and only 17 takeaways. You do the math. That's not good. Not good at all. But yeah, we're going on to the second game, which I was in attendance for. I was actually at a tailgate party with some Panthers fans, and they were talking all kinds of shit. Now, we didn't know that Cam Newton's arm was this bad really until after this game, especially after all the interceptions and things like that. That's when it all kind of came out. Even though you can kind of see it, Cam was throwing some ducks. He was. These balls were not sailing on him. They were just flying straight down. They actually have more first downs than us. They had 168 rushing yards. They had way more rushing yards than us. The only difference was the 4 interceptions. We sacked Cam 4 times. We got sacked 4 times. Passing yards, we barely had 40 yards more. Total yards, they had more total yards than us. We lost 2 fumbles. Oh, no, we had 1 fumble, lost 1. 2 fumbles, lost 1, sorry. Penalty yards, we had more penalty yards than them. We had more penalties, not penalty yards. They had 7 for 104. We had 9 for 69. We were 6 of 13 on conversions. They were 3 for 8. So, and they had the ball for almost a minute longer. So, that was just a game of turnovers. but we still only won 17-24. We should have won by at least another 2 scores. There's no way. So the Panthers are looking to, obviously, they want to get the bad taste out of their mouth from the last time they played us, because they know how good of a team they are. We've been splitting with the Panthers for a while. It feels like they'll beat us really bad one game, and then we'll beat them in a close game. I don't want to play Cam Newton with a hurt shoulder. I want to play Cam Newton when he's full go. They got a full, healthy, stacked offense beginning of the season. Let's run it. Thursday night in Carolina, the Bucs are going to win 34-24. 34-24. That's the score. Lock it in. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for the 2-game preview. I have more really I want to talk about, but it kind of sucks to talk about by myself. I'm gonna have some guests on. We're gonna prep. We're gonna do a full 2-game prep. Me and somebody else. I don't know who it is yet. I'm gonna get various other Bucs podcasts and people, and we're gonna have more people talking, more ideas to bounce off of, more notes, more research, things like that. But this is just a little season preview. It's nothing crazy, nothing special. It is the off season. I also have another idea for a show coming up that I think you guys are going to like. It's kind of a prop bet show. But yeah, as always, subscribe, rate, review, things like that. I am sorry for the delay, but that's going to do it for today's show. I hope you guys liked it, and let me know on Twitter if you have anything you want to talk about. If you listen to it and you want to talk back and forth about the show, that's fine with me. We can do that. I'm always open for a little debate as long as it's healthy. But that's going to do it for the show, guys. Talk to you later.